following is a presentation of TFNN. Live at TFNN, the Power Trading Hour, with your host, David White. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, David White.
And welcome all to another exciting edition of the Power Trading Hour with me, your humble, lovable, and squeezably soft host. Once again, back into the breach, dear friends of fun buying. We are up 8.6 on the S&P cash at 2116, 1.8 billion shares. So volume has gone in the dumper. And I don't know if there's kind of like that commercial where I've fallen down and I can't get up. I think we've had pulled a hammy on the volume here in the last week or so. It's certainly early summer trading already. And of course, a lot of stuff going on, pushing that around. But today, tomorrow, pretty much fun buying should be over. Not seeing a lot of juice so far. They marked this market up pretty quickly off the low of 2102. And again, as soon as we get to be about 2108, the volume just shuts off like someone's got a light switch somewhere. You still have a little, but not a lot going on out there. And of course, it corresponds to the dollar index right now on the continuous contract, $97.45. And we'll talk more about the dollar in a few minutes. In the meantime, we've got a lot of stuff going on out here. So let's get right into the show.
That it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
It is history, and on this day, we had several things happen. In 1980, Ted Turner launches the world's first round-the-clock TV news service, which he calls the Cable News Network. Analysts at the time predict that this new venture, nicknamed the Chicken Noodle Network, will be a disastrous failure, and they were mostly right for the first year and a half. Ted decided to pivot, as they like to say these days. Little did I know in 1980 that I would be helping install equipment in their facility probably by 1992. I think that was when it is. I remember the first time I was there because there was a Deadhead concert at the same time, and I had to crawl over a ton of smelly hippies. And the whole street smelled like burning rope, if you know what I mean. And there were microbuses, VW microbuses, as far as the eye could see, and smelly folks. Oh, speaking of I had a lot of people ask me what I did with the smelly money. You can also email me at path@tfnn.com. I saw somebody on the street corner that looked rather smelly, and I gave them the $2, figuring that they couldn't smell up the money any more than it was. So I'm not much on giving unknown people that may or may not have a drug habit money, but yeah. At least the smelly money was not in my hands anymore, if you were listening on Friday. And, of course, very interesting. Spent a lot of time. We had lots of conventions. I had a friend that worked in the engineering department that I'd made friends with over time and being in that. But it was very interesting. Anyway, kind of funny to see Ted Turner pivot. I think it was about 1981 and a half, 92. Or 82, he could not get into. He was basically, if people believe that Fox News is conservative news, basically when they started off, they were extremely conservative. But by 1992, he made a deal with the devil, and that was all the commies around the world. If he could just get basically news organizations in there, he thought that they would do well, and he may not be able to report all the news from the miserable communists, but he would get a foothold in there and then be able to report when most of our news services weren't. So basically, he was bowing down to every third world dictator in the world and basically, well, letting them parrot whatever they wanted to say. And it did work, basically by going and pivoting from the far right to the far left, especially in world events, and basically parroting whatever the propaganda was of these third world stinkholes. He was able to build up at least the ability to get into those places when big news issues struck. And very interesting. But I was around there a few times when he was yelling. He didn't, of course, come into the technical department, which is, basically actual production. I could always hear him yelling over in the news department. That was in the 90s before he sold the thing. But it was interesting. But on this day in 1980, he launched the Chicken Noodle Network. In 1720, though, one of the biggest speculative bubbles of all time basically reaches its peak. It reaches its peak tomorrow. It was the South Sea Company. If you don't know about it, you probably should read about it if you want to invest and understand what bubbles are. The stock shot from $610 to $870 between today and tomorrow in 1720. Amazingly enough, 2 weeks later, it's down about 150. This was one of the biggest speculative bubbles and a huge issue that probably affected France for 150 years on out. Everybody and their dog was in the Beanie Baby craze in France, and people with money everywhere, from the guy that wrote Gulliver's Travel. I think he was one of the guys. A lot of authors, big men of the street, supposedly very smart people, all got extremely greedy and piled huge amounts of cash in there. But pretty much everybody in France got involved in one way or the other, and that put a huge problem in France. France may have been a much bigger player in the next following 200 years, if or 90 years now, 185. If they hadn't gotten involved in this, but I do digress. But a lot of history coming out here today. You can give me a call at 877-927-6648. You can post a message in the den, or you can email me at path@tfnn.com. I'll be glad to take your phone call. Altera, of course, is agreeing to be bought out by Intel. We talked about them a little bit on Friday. I wanted you to know, if you didn't understand what they did in the semi business, which is basically make chips that can be programmable in the field. In fact, actually, sometimes they call them FPGAs, field programmable arrays. But you can put any amount, basically anything, whether it's a processor or any kind of product today, basically uses transistors to set up logics by the same thing that your light switches do in your living room, or maybe in your kitchen, or maybe in your dining room, where you can have multiple switches actually turn a light on or off. That kind of logic is built up one transistor at a time. And what Altera does is build those so that when the chip comes on, you can send it a program, and it will basically initialize the program in silicon. And instead of having a processor bring in and out what it's supposed to do, it's literally in hardware. And this is extremely important for things that have to be near time, real time, or real time, especially things like routers, like the one in your home, of course, 1,000 or 10,000 times bigger in something like at Yahoo or Google. But these things are huge. Now, basically, I hadn't really thought about it, but when you listen to what Intel says about it, is they're going to do two things. One, they're going to combine the regular Xenon processors that they build today for servers, in which they own some 98% of all server market. Talk about a monopoly. I hate shorting monopolies. Intel, one of those monopolies. What they're going to do is be able to, in the same chip, put this field programmable array right on top of the existing processors. And by doing that, they'll be able to hard code certain functionality into it, like being able to see somebody's face, optical recognition, all kinds of other things. Now, why they basically stopped short of saying that this was going to be a feature for smartphones, I see this is exactly what this is. They're going to figure it all out for their high-paying customers, and eventually, I suspect we're going to see little chips with this functionality built back on it. It's just a few more layers added to the existing semiconductors out there themselves, and makes a lot of sense. You can have a general-purpose processor like they build today, and maybe add a little functionality to it that would have to be an additional all 100% chip. By it never leaving that chip, it can be incredibly fast compared to maybe a processor hooked to yet another field programmable array. But makes a lot of sense. They say that they'll be break even on the deal in 1 year. I don't know much about the numbers on this stuff, but I suspect Intel has been thinking about this for a while. They basically went to Altera, said, we'll make your chips for you about 1.5 years ago. And I think they started figuring out what was going on in it and whether or not they kind of dating. And I think this was the proposal for marriage between the two, but makes a lot of sense. And you get the Altera guys on that know everything about how to make these and how to set them up and put it into a Intel chip, maybe the current batch in 1.5 years. We'll have them 2 years. My guess is that you'll probably see Xenon processors for servers have this within 1 year, 1.5 years, and probably retail CPUs and things in your smartphone within maybe 3 years, 2.5 years maybe. My guess is that they also are doing this to go up against Samsung and other companies that don't have maybe the technology but are catching up that Intel has to build their chips. In the meantime, the market continues on. Now, basically, we talk a lot about the dollar index. I don't think we've ever explained it. I know there are a few people that are asking out there about it. But anyway, what are we doing with the dollar index? Most people don't even know the mixes in it, so I thought we'd go through that today while we have a little time and the market's kind of stalled out here in this, what is this, 2117 now. The euro, amazingly enough, is 57% of the dollar index, so that may tell you something right there. It's kind of like the NASDAQ 100 with 15% of it being Apple. The Japanese yen is 13.6%, the British pound 11.9%, the Canadian dollar, the loonie. If you put animals on your money, I don't know if you're going to go very far, but they seem to have done fairly well, even with having all kinds of birds all over their stuff. 9.1%, the Swedish krona. Now, you never hear about that krona unless you're reading about or watching the girl with the dragon tattoo. Although they have some pretty good television shows. I've watched some of the foreign shows. Actually, not bad. You'd be pretty surprised. The Swiss franc, 3.6%. You'd think that the Swiss franc would be a little bigger. Anyway, we'll be back in a minute. We've got lots more to discuss and lots of charts to look at today.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crisp crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
You've always taken the long view when it comes to investing, but what if there's an opportunity right under your nose? What if you could be more responsive to market trends to seek to boost your portfolio performance right now while seeking to reduce your overall risk? At Direction Funds, we connect investors with alternative strategies that seek to maximize their returns. Smart investors deserve smart alternatives. Find yours at directionfunds.com. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risk charges, and expenses of Direction Funds carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Funds. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact the Direction Funds at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. Investing in index funds may be more volatile than investing in broadly diversified funds. Distributed by Rafferty Capital Markets, LLC.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows, and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. Dave takes your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
And we're back. I don't know what happened here. And we're back. So, I was waiting for something to kick off here, and it did not. And I'm wondering why. Oh, probably because I turned it off. Anyway, we've got some interesting stuff going on out here. 21.1848 on the S&P cash as we speak. No, I was not paying attention. I was too poor to pay attention today. 21.18. I was my mind had been wandering. I'd been thinking about a bunch of stuff. Basically, someone said in the den out here, and made me think. Statistically, we are in a very tight trading range, and a few points higher or lower probably doesn't really mean much of anything. Probably just the equivalent of noise out here. And of course, on a day where we have fun buying, normally long-term direction, not a lot to do with it. Short-term, of course, gives you a good idea that you can sell into these pops that are generally as regular as a bus coming by every 5 or 10 minutes. Once a month, everybody has to pile into these things and start buying them, and that is it. In the meantime, I want to start looking at some charts out here and see how some of the stuff that we were looking at last week has started to move. Let's look at the 28th out here, because I think that was when I was really starting to look at it. I wanted to look at a few of these stocks that had hit highs or hit lows and see if they were doing anything. Ancor Pharmaceuticals, one of these things that had hit, especially Friday again, it hit new highs out here. Not a lot of energy on any of these that I'm looking at, or a lot of them that I'm looking at. A lot of news in this sector today should have probably blown these things up much higher. Ancor Pharmaceuticals been playing around the $70 area for a little while. When we closed back in, the April 17th high at $78.90 is what we were going into. So last Thursday, we had 560,000 shares, broke through it with 655,000 shares on Friday. Today we got about 321,000, but look like it's at least going to try to close back below that April 17th high once again. Don't see a lot out here. This is one of the ones that had a great deal of news on Friday, kind of bouncing around and back today. The news on Bristol Myers Squibb, if you weren't around on Friday, it came out about midday or something. Anyway, a huge move on Monster volume. Of course, everybody's upgrading it and telling everybody they should buy it back today. But pretty good indication. A lot of people were spooked on a fairly quiet day out here. We're back in the middle of that trading range, but my guess is the damage is done. We're going to go retest the lows on Bristol Myers probably this week or pretty soon. Valco Energy, EGY. Some of these stocks in these energy stocks do look like maybe they could be making some kind of bottom off of some fairly heavy destructions. This one I find kind of interesting. I'll be looking at it this week. I'm not buying anything just yet. April 1st set the high volume low of 5.7 million shares at $2.12. You go below it with 2.2 million shares, it pops back into the trading range. And this is what I like. So if you are paying attention to what I actually spend my money on and place bets on, this is what I like. I like that you get a little energy off the first high volume low, and then you basically decrease the energy back down and you test the low. Then you pop again, you get some fairly decent energy on the way up. Now this one, the one bad thing is that it basically did not bust the previous high of April 15th on more volume, but I wasn't expecting it to. But then when it starts coming back down for the second time out here, it comes back again with lighter volume, and that's why we brought it up last week. But this 212 area that was the major high volume low, basically started to see a little buying, 1.6 million shares off the bottom on Friday. Today, 1 million shares. Now, everybody thinks that you always get these V bottoms in these stocks, and the answer is that you do not. But it does tend to be problematic in that you've got to sit on these things as they go sideways for a little while, a lot of times before they start moving a whole lot. Another one up at these highs is HealthNet. And again, a lot of discussion starting this week about the way that the Supreme Court will rule on the Orwellian named Affordable Care Act. But not a lot of juice up here, but you know, should have broken through on Friday, did not. We'll be back in a minute.
The Path of Least Resistance is David White's daily trading newsletter, and if you're looking for active trading ideas, then now's a perfect time for a 30-day free trial to this powerful daily trading advisory service. David uses his years of trading experience to offer his subscribers his trading ideas each morning in his Path of Least Resistance newsletter. Using a combination of equity trades along with options, David keeps his subscribers up to date with all pertinent market information with intraday afternoon updates when warranted. Don't miss out on this great chance to get a 30-day free trial to David's daily newsletter, The Path of Least Resistance, with no obligation to pay anything. David has been delivering solid recommendations for his subscribers recently, and if you'd like to see the type of newsletter he delivers every morning, then visit the front page of TFNN and you'll find The Path of Least Resistance under Trading Newsletters. For all the details and to start your 30-day free trial today, log on to TFNN.com now. Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
If you're like me, you see the world's emerging nations as a very real opportunity, as these countries and their economies are developing right before our eyes. And you can rest assured that Everbank has spotted this opportunity too. In fact, they've just released the second running of their 5-year Market Safe Futures Economy CD. This is a CD that could really deliver, but you only have until June 11th to take advantage. Consider the facts. If the future economy's currencies beat the US dollar over the CD term, you'll get all of the upside at maturity. And should they lose, no worries. There's zero downside risk here, as you get back 100% of your deposited principal. Don't miss out. The June 11th funding deadline is quickly approaching. So hurry over to everbank.com/TFNN-CD for more information, including important product details and disclosures. Once again, that's everbank.com/TFNN-CD. Everbank is an equal housing lender and member FDIC.
This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And as we're back, kind of breaking up here to the highs of days, but not a lot of juice. And of course, maybe this is just our destiny for summer trading. But as we look at the volume out here, 1.94 billion shares, boy, talk about crawling. This seems like, especially when we know half of that is, or 3/4 of it's high frequency trading. Just what you have out here. 21.18 on the S&P cash, so we're up 10 points on it. And to me, just a lot of noise so far. I don't see a lot happening out here. We're going to see a few of these stocks and how they're reacting. We're talking about HealthNet, HNT is the symbol on this one. Should have easily been able to break out. Had some decent volume on Friday. Little doji, little hanging guy out here today on it. HZNP. Horizon Pharma. Again, these stocks should have the ability to break out if everything is as bullish as everybody believes it is. What I see, though, in a lot of these is just this. The April 21st high, $32.15, 9.9 million shares. So the last few days, Wednesday last week, we get 3 million shares. Thursday, we come in with 2.2 million shares. Friday, 2.3 million shares. Today, 1.7 million shares, but we're pulling back into that trading range. And this is pretty good indication or pattern that you'll see a great deal of time when you get these gap ups that have not been tested, and that is the gap's up, goes sideways for a little while, goes to a new high, pulls back, comes back up, tests that high, and then you head back for that gap test to go fill this out. But I would not be surprised to see this thing back at $23 again. And maybe this area would be a good place. We'll have to see whether or not what the market looks like when those come back. But if you had to buy some of these, you'd have to think that was it. We've continued discussing what I believe is a fairly long-term top in housing, and we've looked at these peripheral companies like Mohawk Carpeting and other ones. Lennox, of course, the air conditioning company. Air conditioning lasts about 15 years now, I guess. And I was kind of interesting to see this one make a nice high. We talked about this, I think, on Wednesday last week. And that is the April 15th high at 114.08, 1 million shares. Tried to get into it. Best we could do was 370,000 shares on the 27th last week, which was what, Wednesday. Thursday, we ended up with a little under 400,000 shares. Friday, 250,000 shares. Today, 151,000 shares. But back into trading range. And again, a lot of these stocks had a lot of gaps on the way back up. This one would be pulling back to somewhere around that 96 through 100. There's a double gap back out there. But if you were thinking about buying something like this, that's where you would look. To me, I would probably think about this one other than I wish the energy from this 104.94 April 21st low up to this high from May 27th had a little less juice in it. I just think it can meander its way back down where there are a lot of stocks that look like the wheels could just fall off back here. MACOM Technology Holdings, MTSI. This one was 40% short. It's still up here at these highs, though. The March 25th high, $39.52, 1 million shares against the Thursday high at $40.20. So it's gone above it. It closed back below it. It's trying to come back up again today, but it's 311 shares. QLogic, QLGC. QLGC. This is another one up here. A couple of dojis now out here on very light volume. The 1.9 million shares from February 26th set the high with 2 million shares, got into it on April 27th with half the volume and went above it, closed back below it. We're back up into these. The best volume that we have out here is basically 840,000 shares, which happened again on last Thursday. Two dojis now out here, so lighter volume, two sideways dojis. See if this has earnings coming up here. I can't remember the end. July 22nd. So you got about, 2 months out here? Yeah, I don't know if that's long enough to hold this thing up. But it seems like a lot of these stocks don't fall apart until the news comes out. Trimble Navigation, TRMB. Kind of hard to see how these stocks have a huge future ahead of them. Not a lot of people holding around GPS devices anymore. It's all built into your smartphone or built into your watch or built into 100 things. But we did have volume that broke the previous low in Trimble, TRMB. And if we go back and take a quick look at the February 2nd low, $23.68, 3.3 million shares, basically got through it on Friday with 3.9 million shares. Little doji out here today. Not enough volume probably to break this stock in half yet. But my guess is you've already broken the lows, so you want to go back and see what else is potentially out here. And, we're kind of back into a consolidation range. But if you would break here, basically you're looking back to the July 24th, 2012 low of $20.01 that has not ever been tested. So you always got to keep those in mind. VC is another one out here. Wanted to take a quick look at that. Visteon, we've been talking about that. If you've been watching the news today, been reading about the news. A lot of data coming out about car loans being into the 5-6 years. Almost 40% of new cars now being sold on a lease of 3 to 4 years. And the question is whether and how long can that continue? I have a saying that right here, when Visteon tests its previous high on 25% of the volume, you got to watch out what's happening. I'm pretty sure that we are at probably some kind of year-long maybe multi-year long moves in cars, just like we are in houses, on any slight move up on these, and that would hurt probably a lot of these cars that are incredibly expensive. And trying to remember the article this morning, but it showed about the huge bump in just the last 6 months in leases because people are doing everything in the world to keep their payments down on these. And if we had any kind of even mild recession out here, the question is, would the car business be the housing business of 2007 and 2008? Still have some issues with that. VNCE was hoping that maybe this thing had made a bottom out here. Again, you've been breaking the previous lows on lighter volume, basically 270,000 shares, going up against 1.7 million shares. Don't know a lot about this company. I'm going to have to find out more about it. But any pop back above $16.50 would be a false breakout. You'd want to look at that. We talked about Workday, and this thing probably headed back down to the $75 range. Huge energy on the way down. But headed for $75.23. Want to see how that comes in there. We've got a doji today out here, but my guess is we're going to get into that $75 range fairly quick. Quicksilver, and it's one of those mall retailers, if I'm not mistaken. It's basically gotten down to its low out here of October 8th at $1.40. And I mean literally $1.40, not $140, $1.40. 4.8 million shares got into it today with 1.1 million shares and really have broken it. And that's probably the more conservative version. You could even look at this high volume low of December 12th with 7.8 million shares coming in and seeing how light the volume is out here. Not saying to buy it, but again, a lot of times if you do want to get long, these long summers with no volume are a great time for these stocks to base out. We've got plenty of time out here. Let's check the email and see if there's want to look at IBB. Kind of interesting out here. You could make the case that if IBB started to roll back over here and down, that you had basically two lighter attempts, not lighter, I guess, lower attempts. 368.25 was the last high against the 367.84 high of May 29th and of Friday out here. So a little push up here, no volume. What you would really be concerned of if you were long is seeing some kind of move down tomorrow. If not, maybe we go back up and test the 374.97 of March 20th. But you could probably, if you're long, you're probably on a profitable basis on IBB, so it'd be hard to actually sell here. But at the same time, you'd like to see or think that we'd see a lot more traffic with fund buying going on today in this stock. Let's see what else we have going on out here. There were a few stocks that I thought were interesting. Starbucks was one. Let's see how this thing's doing today. Basically going up against the 22 million share high of April 24th today on Starbucks. Had a couple of dojis out here last week. Now this thing's trying to go through. Of course, we need 22 million shares just to tie that previous April 24th high today. 4.5 million shares so far. Sent a chart of this to Andy Heck and asked him if there was anything going on coffee. But again, problematic at the best. He likes coffee, doesn't like Starbucks. I guess he likes Starbucks coffee, doesn't like the stock at the moment. Anyway, 2117.69 on the S&P cash. Just cracked 2 billion shares. So volume incredibly light once again out here. And let's say that Starbucks comes through with 12 million shares, 13 million shares today, something like that. By the end of the day, you'd still almost be about, 60% of the volume of that previous high. My guess is with the split out here, you're probably getting ready to set up a higher trading range and that trading range would exist from $52 down to 48. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a long consolidation. Even if the market's going higher, I wouldn't be surprised to see a consolidation between those two levels as Starbucks is getting really expensive out here over the months. We talked about stocks coming back down to previous gap ups with light volume. Lululemon, the super tight yoga pants company, is back to its gap. That gap started on the 12th of January with a little over 10 million shares. And, it doesn't really look that bad. You had your first low and attempt to kind of close that gap on March 6th with the 5.4 million shares. Got even a lower one out here, too. If you felt just horribly compelled to go long something out here, not bad. You got a high volume high that's untested on April 10th. And that's at 70, right at $70. Not a bad looking chart out here. When we're actually talking about those. I don't know about the yoga business anymore, but they used to talk about it a great deal on CNBC, but not so much anymore. Kansas City Southern, boy, talk about a disaster. These train companies are finally getting ready to come back to their lows of 2014. In this case, we are now back to the gap up and gap down areas that is about basically $92 and to $88, which is the February 18th to 2014 low out here. And you needed 6.3 million shares to tie that day that basically set up support, basically tagged it today with 3 million shares. Energy was just slightly more than the huge move up, and probably setting up a trading range, I suspect, in the train business too, but certainly hurt by all that crude not flowing down the railroad tracks anymore. And they were able to avoid it for a while by sticking it to the pipeline companies. But now the Saudis are sticking it to everyone, including the train companies. What else do we have out here? See if there's anything exciting. A few more stocks out here. We got about a minute to go. Maybe I'll find something out here. Horizon Pharma. Well, we talked about that one already. HPTX, which is Hyperion. No. Holy. No. HR. No. We got Hoffman Mifflin Hardcourt Incorporated. HMHC. This one's testing its high. Kind of interesting to see the volume out here. I guess it may tie. We'd want to see how this one was doing. But he had this huge spike reversal day, April 24th, with 2 million shares to $26.62. We've gone above that today. We got a little doji out here, 1.6 million shares. So probably be interesting to see how volume comes in at the close on this one. And what else do we have going on here? Franco Nevada. Anything happen in this one? Not really. I'll be going through a few more of these. I think we can probably get 4 or 5 more in before the top of the hour. Again, I'm not getting excited about a 10-point move in the S&P cash today. If we were on a normal fund buying day, this thing would be up 30 points. 2117 on the S&P cash, just a tick over 2 billion shares. Going nowhere fast. That's the day. We'll look at O'Reilly when we come back.
Trade with confidence and clarity while using the software that thousands of institutional traders rely on to make the best and most accurate decisions. Choose from 1,000 equities, currencies, and futures instruments utilizing the TAS architecture. As seen on Bloomberg terminals worldwide, the TAS Profile Scanner is a benchmark technical filtering system that thousands of traders rely on, and now you can too. For a limited time for TFNN subscribers only, we've reduced the price to just $97. That's over 75% off. John Logan hosted a special subscriber-only webinar in December, and you'll gain access to that archive as well, so you can learn exactly what the TAS Profile Scanner can do for you. Try this product out. No matter what you trade, the TAS Profile Scanner can help you make more informed trading decisions. There's no obligation to pay anything. Don't let this offer pass you by. Get your 30-day free trial to the TAS Profile Scanner today by signing up at TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
We're told to follow our passion and everything else will fall into place. I hope that's what each of you are doing each and every day. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Money Master Show at TFNN.com, and my passion for technical analysis is what led me to the most fundamental discovery in pattern recognition, the Rhodes Momentum Indicator, market scanner, and trading strategy. A set of tools that identify the momentum and power of the trend, the likes of which have never been seen before, for every market and every time frame. Yes, folks, the trend is your friend, unless you're on the other side. New to technical analysis? This is the place to start. And experienced traders take advantage of the trend like never before. Experience the power of the Rhodes Momentum Indicator each day, available to subscribers of my newsletter service, Mastering Probability. I guarantee your satisfaction for the next 30 days unconditionally, so there's no risk to you other than being on the wrong side of the trend. Mastering Probability, available on the homepage of TFNN.com. And folks, live with passion.
Catch Tom O'Brien, professional trader and educator, founder of TFNN. Also, a special guest on CNBC. Tom will bisect and dissect the markets. The Tom O'Brien Show, next on TFNN.
$21.17 on the S&P cash to just a little over 2 billion shares. Again, volume very, very light out here. If anybody was thinking about buying, a lot of fund, not a lot of juice out here in these markets. See Tom O'Brien warming up in the bullpen. He'll be here for the next 2 hours. And I think we've got a new schedule out here. So maybe he'll talk about that also today. But I digress. I had a question in the den from Mitch in Boston. Look at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I buy a lot of auto parts, do a lot of work on my own cars and vehicles and stuff. Just very interesting to see this business. Looks to me kind of maybe topping out. I don't know how much better it can get. While there are a lot of new cars being bought, just kind of a tough business, I think, to short. But it certainly is going to be a Kind of a tough thing out here to see that this goes much higher. I'm just not, a lot of new cars out here. Of course, basically all the parts that they sell, or a lot of the parts that they sell, are all replacement parts. And a lot of cars out there, 10, 12, 15 years old, being replaced by less expensive cars, especially the South Korean cars, that kind of stuff. And at those, the cars start off at 15 grand to begin with. No one's spending a lot of money to fix them. Almost the disposable side time. Anyway, now that we see a lot more of those cars out there at the disposable level, at the very high end, people taking them to the dealers, I'm just wondering if the best isn't in. Not thinking that I'd short this company, but just all the data out here makes me think that maybe it's as good as it gets. Maybe it doesn't get worse for them, but maybe it just doesn't get any better. Anyway, this thing's just going sideways out here. I'm not expecting a huge change in it. Advanced Auto Parts is always selling me or sending me coupons. I think this weekend, if I would have bought $120 worth of stuff, they were going to give me $50 off on something. And literally, I've got 2 bins full of parts, spare parts out there in case I ever need a fan belt or anything else. When they run those specials, I buy everything up. It's just hard for me to see. This thing really hasn't had any energy since this thing gapped up. Going back to the February 5th jump up on earnings up here, and this thing's just been going rather sideways. Let's see what the next earnings date is on this. July 21st. So could you just kind of trade in this bigger range? I think you could. That range is probably somewhere around, this 202, 203 area where it's the top of the gap in this 220 area. So, shorting this thing for a 10% move, I don't think I'd be involved in that. Could it go up a little bit and retest the 230 high? Probably could do that too. Right now, a lot of these stocks just look like dead money. We're going to have a move in the broader markets to really get some of these things going, but we'll talk about that later. In the meantime, we're just about out of the woods today, at least. But keep an eye on this volume as we close the day out here, that we can't get anything going on a Monday for volume. At the height of fund buying, kind of tells you a lot. We'll probably be out of fund buying by, I would imagine, 2 o'clock tomorrow. Could they gap this up for a little while tomorrow and try to catch the last little fish out here buying kind of the chummed waters? I think you could. But watch out. This is setting up very much like it did last month. That was no money coming in fund buying, and then you had a little bit of a reaction. I think back down to 2070. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bat channel, same bat time. So when you can, not when you have to.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, oil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. You're watching Tiger TV.